Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I've decided I'm going to take it a step further in game development. I'm not going to teach you how to make a crappy Roblox game, although I will continue that series. I'm going to teach you how to make an actual game for free without payment. I'm being serious. The scripts will be in the description. You don't need any scripting. I'm just going to teach you how to make a game. Simple as. So yeah, as you can see, I've set up this trial board. And yeah, let's get right into it. So first, open up Unity. Next, create a new 3D project. Name it whatever you want to call it. If you have a really creative name, use it. If you have any creative thing like that, use it. Also, you won't be, you won't have any of these organizations. It might just be named Unity a bunch of coding crap. I'm not sure what type of code it is. It definitely isn't, 100% isn't, what's it called? C#, which is the coding language that they use in Unity. Also, this requires no scripting. Just steal my scripts, use them. It's also a steal of the script of a steal of the script. You'll see them later in the video. So yeah, let's jump right into it. I'm just going to call this Unity tutorial video. Now I'm just going to hit create project. And whilst that's creating, I'm going to tell you about this drill board that I made. So we have to learn, learning, and learned. First thing that you need to know about before you know anything is game objects and what they are specifically. So we're just gonna add a two-line script, card called game objects. This is a object inside of a game, as you can obviously tell, and it pretty much means it's an object inside of the game that could be invisible, it could be literally thin air, it could be anything. It could be a cube, it could be a triangle, it could be a pyramid, it could be anything that is a physical, virtual object. Or if you're using AR, you could technically call it a physical object, even though you can't hold it. AR is confusing. But yeah, so far, we've just got that loading up. It's almost loaded up, and yeah. We don't need another list. We don't need anything like that. We're just learning about game objects. After that, I'm going to teach you about physics. Specifically, rigid body physics. Rigid body physics are a type of physics that I use in the Unity game engine that help people understand, well, it's just a physics engine. Pretty much it means that virtual objects have physics. So pretty much just how do I put this? Rigid bodies is a type of, a rigid body is a type of physics, simplify it to hell. Rigid body, it is a thing you apply to an object that makes it fall and move with gravity. That's what rigid bodies are. So yeah, let's just continue. So, once it's loaded up, you'll come up with a short screen. If you don't use any templates, it should look like this. So, let's just talk a bit about the UI. Over here we have the hierarchy. This might be a little bit more extended, but I like having the main screen a bit more opened up. This is a complete beginner tutorial, by the way. So yeah. You have the sample scene. This is what everyone is called. Every single scene is called inside of a Unity project that you've just created. Sample scene means it's just a scene created by Unity, which is a blank scene. If you have no scenes, you can't do anything. Simple. It's just nothing. That's all it is. But yeah, a scene is think of it like this. If you're making a level-based platformer, it is a level. Or if you're making an open world game, it is your world. Pretty much. Just imagine it like that. It is what your game looks like. So, up here we have the hierarchy. And there's a main camera. There's also a main camera down here. Well, the same thing? Yes, they are. The hierarchy is referencing all the objects inside of here that you can see. We also have a directional light. A directional light pretty much projects light on every single place. You might not be able to do this, but if we just get rid of it into game, wait a second. My shaders don't allow me to crap. Why aren't you changing? Excuse me. Okay, it's directional, but don't even worry about that. We have a directional light on the main camera. If you just click on these, you can see that it's flexing. And the default tool will be a move tool. So you can move objects around, as you can see. But as you can see, these are just icons. They're not actually represented inside of the game. So this is clearly in front of here. This icon would show. So if we come over to our viewport, known as game, the thing appears. This viewport is what your game will look like. So if we just create that game right now, this is what it will look like. No player inputs, nothing to do. This screen right here, I'm going to maximize it by holding Shift and Tab. This is what your game will look like. Just don't mind about the window, don't mind about this, don't mind about anything beyond this little point here. And also this point up here. This little great thing down there. Everything here will appear. Just the main thing on the screen that you can see will appear inside your game, and nothing will happen. You won't actually see all this extra stuff. So, let's just, well, make a game. So let's come back over to the scene viewport, which is where you can actually create your game. The way you move around is you use W, A, S, and D, just like a normal FPS controller. But the thing is, if you just hold down the left click button, you can look around. But this isn't any ordinary controller. Yep. This is how cursed this game can be. No, but this is just how everything works, but don't worry about it. But inside of our game, it won't be like that. It will stop it around about here. It won't turn all the way around like that, which is very, very confusing. But yeah, down here we have our project panel. We also have our console panel. You can switch between these just by clicking them. And over here we have a folder. You can obviously identify by the picture of it. And it's called Scenes. But what happens when we double click it? As you click it, it selects it, but if we double click it, it opens it up. And that's the Unity icon right there. But that's just representing what scenes are. So yeah, we don't need to worry about that. The way you can go back up is you can come over to the little this little panel up here. We just click assets, and you can just switch between everything through there, which is what anyone would do. Or you can just click this up here. I just recommend using this just for speed. But if you're freaking amazing and you get used to that, it can obviously be quicker. Anyway, I'm not extremely amazing. I didn't even know you could do that a second ago. But anyway, let's just get started. Let's create our first game object. But just before we do that, you need to learn what the hell an inspector is. As you can see, if we click this, there is an inspector. This is where you can edit all your objects and all your settings. But we don't need to worry about that for now. Let's create an object. So the way we do that is we come over here to our little hierarchy. We left click, and as you can see, we have all of these. Let's go to 3D object, cube. Let's create a cube. And let's make that our floor later on. So just hit cube. As you can see, we've created the cube. Let's go to game. That's actually boom, game done. No, this is that even tutorial over. In the video, I'll just be teaching you how to set up a basic FPS controller. So now we've got that, let's just move around and reset it. The way we reset it is we come over to the inspector. The way you learn about the inspector is it has just all the settings. So the way we reset it to the center of our whole scene is we just left click here, go to reset. It resets it and it snaps it to the middle of the screen. And if you go to the game viewport, you can see that. Now I'm going to get a tiny bit more advanced here, because this is getting a bit more advanced, obviously. So yeah, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to Knowing about all the tools. So yeah, we have our pan tool. We can just move around. This is another option instead of holding down left click and move around. So as you can see, nothing will happen if you don't hold it and move around. But so far you didn't actually need to know that, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, now we've done that, let's just on about the tools. So we have so let's just select this first. With the move tool, you can move stuff around. There's the rotate tool, where you can rotate everything. Rotate it, do whatever you want with it. So I'm going to reset that by pressing Ctrl V. Don't worry about it. I'm totally not buying it, fine. And now you've done that, let's just make this into a floor by going to the scale tool. There's also another type of scale tool called the rect tool. So let's just click on this to select it. The rect tool scales it by one side, as you can see. But if you use it by the actual scale tool and not the rect tool, you just scale it down. Also, if you're wondering what this is, it does everything for you, but not that many people use it because it's very annoying at times because you might want to, because it might select something that you're not looking for. Also, we don't need to worry about that. This is called the transform tool, but in this version I'm using it's called the move, rotate, or scale tool, or scale selected objects tool. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna transform tool, but we're probably not gonna be using that. Literally, you can create a game without using this tool once. I'm being serious. But we don't need to worry about that. Let's go to the scale tool. If we just pull that down, we have a little platform. This is where our player is going to spawn on, but it's very small, don't you think? As you can see, you can literally see the grids. It's that small. So, I scale up. So we're just going to click it. Now you can see you can scale it by this. And you can just scale it by dragging it across here and dragging it across there. This is slightly blinding to some people, including me, so yeah. Let's just edit that slightly. But just before we do that, I want to say a sponsor to our sponsors, Red Dino Legends. No, that means dead, come on. We're going to see what our game looks like. This is what our game looks like. Perfect. It's a platform. But it's kind of neon and bright, but it's not actually neon, it's just the way it looks. So what are we going to do next? We're going to create a material that makes it look different. When we mean material, we mean pretty much color, because I'm not really that good at materials. They make more indie games, more than AAA games made. I'm not freaking Bill Gates. I'm not Bill Gates from Microsoft. I'm not David Baszucki. I'm not Notch. This is indie game development, although Notch and David Baszucki start out like that. But don't worry about it. We're just gonna create material by left clicking here. We'll open up all this stuff. All we need is material. So we go over to create. You come over here to material. Once you've done that, you can name it whatever you want. I'm gonna name it floor because, well, we want to do the floor. And you just click off to activate that. Once you've done that, you can just, well, change the material by going to the inspector. As you can see, we can just click this and it'll come up with a little color palette. And you just take that down to make a greyish colour. This is complete black, which doesn't look too good, but I'm just going to make it a greyish colour. Something like that. That's good to me. The way you apply it is you drag and drop it. I didn't mention that. Sorry about that. The way you do it is you drag and drop it onto here. Or you can drag and drop it this way. Just drag and drop onto there. Work please. Oh wait, oh sorry. I've done that. Just come over to the cube, drag and drop it onto there. But the way I like to do it is I just like to drag and drop it onto the object. And if you want to do it on other objects but you're not too sure, you can just see a preview of it. As you can see, it isn't applied. If I just move it off, it's no longer applied. But you just have to let go and it's applied. Look, I'm clicking off, and it's already applied. So yeah. Now we have our platform. Let's actually create our character. So, we're going to use Bean. We're going to use Le Bean. The reason we do this is because it's easier to go up slopes, stairs. Okay, maybe not stairs, you might have to jump up them half the time, but depending on what controller that you're using, you can go upstairs very easily. Anyway, yeah. The way we're going to do this is we're just going to create a bean. So we're just going to left click here, 3D object, capsule, also known as bean. So I'm just going to reset this, just like we did before, and it moves this up a bit. Now that we've moved this up a bit, we have our bean. So if we just come up to the game view, this is what our game looks like! Whoa! we've added some actual stuff to your game. So what are you going to do now? Well, first thing, the next thing you're going to do, not the first thing you're going to do, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put a script on this character, but we don't have any scripts, and we don't want to code any at the moment in the first episode. So, Unity has it in for us. So, the way you do this is you come over to the inspector, the hierarchy, sorry, you just click the capsule, and you press add component. You rename it, you don't rename it, you just search for rigid body, and if you use it as a rigid body, 2D, it won't work. You have to make it a rigid body, a normal, ordinary rigid body. Now you've added that, let's just click play, and see how our game acts. If we talked about this before, the physics, right? So hopefully we have applied physics to our object. So if we just come up here and hit play. Also, I recommend this for certain situations. It's just better for some people, for OCD like me, or some people just might like it. I like it, and also I have OCD. So yeah. Am I still recording? Yes, I am still recording. Nice. I don't know if I've been recording for 16 minutes. Wow. Anyway, let's just go to maximize on play and hit play. Maximize on play just means that it maximizes it. There's a meaning in that thing. So yeah, that is actually standing up. How is that standing up? Excuse me. I'm actually a bit confused. How is that standing up? How are we standing up? Bruh, how are you standing up? Right, I'm gonna rotate it slightly to see that this definitely does work with physics. So as you can see, if I hit play, physics. But yeah, that's what we want to use to make our character jump, right? Well, we're not actually going to be doing any scripting. Let's just click on this. And you can see it flops over, which we don't want. So how are we going to change that? Well, we're going to go to this little drop down thing called constraints. And we're just going to select X and Z. So as you can see, this will not fall. I repeat, will not fall over. As you can see, it's not fallen over. But there's no way to control it yet. So what are we going to do? Well, just for organization, we're going to rename this to player. You can name it to player capsule, but I'm just going to rename it to player. Oh, I can't spell. Boom, player. I'm also going to rename the floor to, well, floor. So now we've done that, let's just, well, give our character, well, a character movement script. So the way we're going to do it is we're just going to import a script. So import new asset. You won't have this. I will be leaving the links in the description to a Google Drive where you can download them. Also, this is some stupid rigid body based movement by Danny. Good to know. Very good to know. So yeah. This isn't actually my script. I didn't write this out. Yes, blame me. Yes, you can hate me. I don't really care. I do know how to script though. I will prove it. I will do more scripting. I will make scripts. I did not make a gun script. Yes, I do not make all the amazing scripts. I'm not the best at it, okay? I do make some scripts though. I made an explosion script. I did actually make that gun script. Sorry, I made certain gun scripts. Another one that I actually usually use is one by a game developer. But don't worry about that. Now we have that in our theme, in our project panel. Let's just bring that in and drag and drop it onto here. But nothing has visually changed. There's not like it has like a little script icon, which it won't have. That's isn't how Unity works. Let's just click this or click it in the player hierarchy. And as you can see, play movement script. This might look intimidating at first, but it isn't. I promise. Honestly, I promise. So yeah. Now we've learned all about rigid body physics. Let's, what we are learning? Player movement. We are learning player movement. This is what we are learning. It's gone from to learn to learning, even though I just created it at home. Don't worry. So we're learning player movement. So now I've done that, we've dragged and dropped it on. Did I just accidentally? Yes, I accidentally opened pivot, no thank you. But anyway, we don't need to worry about that. We just, have a capsule and we have a player movement. This won't actually work at the moment. We actually need to create an object that represents both of these. We just need to create a layer which also represents this, our ground. But for now, let's just speedrun through this. An empty. First, we're gonna have to create an empty object underneath here. But first, what is an empty object? Well, it's just a game object that is empty. You obviously make it a non-empty object by giving it a mesh filter, choosing the mesh, why not a sphere, and a mesh renderer. As you can see, it doesn't have any material, but we can give it a material. Boom, we've created a sphere, but we don't want that. We just want to create an empty. So we need to make that a child of this. So the way we do that is we just come over here, we left click, create empty. As you can see, it's created an empty and it's underneath here. And a child pretty much means that the player controls it. So it's the same with guns and things like that. So if you want to add a gun in, and it needs to be a child of the player. So you add it as a child of the player and it'll always follow the player around. It's always attached to the player. So now we have that game object, let's just bring it up to our head. This will take care of our orientation. Let's just rename this to orientation. We're a bit more faster because, well, we kind of need to. Now we've done that, let's just create another empty. Call it camera, which is where our camera will be stored. I'm going to store that later on. Create another empty and call it head. Spell that wrong. Head. Now I've got that. We need to put the camera empty object just up here, and the head empty object up here. Now we've done that, we're just going to drag in our camera into our player. Now we've done that, all we need to do is we need to make the main camera a child of this camera object. So our main camera needs to be a child of this camera object. The way we do that is we just drag it under, and as you can see it's now under there, which makes it a child. Next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to import a new script. So import a new asset, and then there should be a asset called move camera, if I just can find it. So now I've got that, and I've got that. Let's just drag and drop that onto the empty camera object. So now we've done that, we just come over to the player, and just assign all of these. So the way we do that, we just say it wants orientation. We just drag orientation down to the orientation place where this should be. Just make sure the orientation is always in the head area. Now we've got the player cam. Just drag and drop the camera empty object instead, not the main camera one. If it's the main camera, it won't work. Once you've done that, no, sorry, I'm going to tell you in a second. Once you've done that, we need to create a layer for the floor, so we know that we can move around it properly and not flop around like a fish. If a fish had legs. That's a joke. Too bad. Go look at the game dev vlogs, or I smack you. Or I smack. You get smack. But first, let's just select the floor. Next, we're going to create a new layer. So where it says layer, it says default. I'm going to come down here to add layer. You won't have post-processing, so let's just get rid of that. And rename it to ground, because post-processing, can't speak English, isn't in the scene, so it does nothing. So let's just rename it to ground, but you will just have to add it in as layer 8, layer 9, layer 31, who cares? But it doesn't really matter. So once you've done that, it isn't automatically applied. So you just come back up here and put it to ground. Next, but you might be wondering, how the hell does this relate to the player movement? Well, if you come up to player, you scroll down, it says, what is ground? It is the ground layer, my dude. And make sure every single thing that you want to walk on is ground. So yeah, once you've done that, you can change the jump force to like 220, which I would recommend doing. And we're also going to change the gravity later on, but we don't need to worry about that for now. We need to worry about this strip over here. What we need to do is drag and drop the head thing over here. Make sure the head is definitely near the top of the beam. Otherwise it won't work. That'll probably not ear rape because my microphone is very quiet, but we don't need to worry about that. Now I've done that, we have our player. So what happens now? We play. it work. Thing is, we need to actually change the gravity, otherwise the player will jump like nuts. So you just come over to here to edit, right up here. So you don't even need to click it, you just hover over it, and then click it, so you do need to click it. You come down here to project settings. Once you've done that, physics should automatically be selected. If it isn't, don't worry about it, just come down here to physics, and where it says minus 9.81, change that to minus 30. If you're creating a humongous game, I don't recommend doing this, but to be fair, it's the only way this script will work, so if you find another script tutorial, I'm sorry, it's the only way. Now you've done that, I'm just going to hit play. See how it plays. Should play completely fine. As you can see, we can look around, we can jump. You can't crouch because I kind of removed it, because I don't want people to call out me as a copy of Danny. But yeah, you can obviously add back in crouching by just getting his script that you in the description, which will work better. And as you can see, we have a player! We have a player! So, yeah, we've created a player without code, pretty much. Just storing code that we stole with people. So yeah, as you can see, I'm pressing down control, nothing is happening. This is proof that I can actually edit code. Believe me, please. So yeah, now you've done that, you have your game. I'm sorry if this video is way too long. I won't try to be like this in the future, but you've created the game, that's all you should be happy about. And you can finally go home, you can finally end this video with knowing that you've completed 3 things. You've learned how to use game objects, you've learned about rigid body physics, and you've learned about playing. How long have I been recording for? Jesus Christ. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I'm just in the video.